And now, your host, Couch Tomato!
Hey, I'm Couch Tomato, and I'm joined by...
Oh.
Welcome to Stuff for Movie Buffs, and today we're talking...
Coming to America 2 news and movies that should never be remade.
All right, before we get into any of that, put your right hand on your heart, left hand in the air, repeat after me, say I.
I.
Say your name.
Hulk.
Am a movie fan.
Am a movie fan.
As a movie fan.
As a movie fan.
I won't get mad.
I won't get mad.
I can't get mad.
I can't get mad.
And I'll keep my anger to myself.
And I will keep my anger to myself.
All right, if this is your first time listening to the show, make sure you head over to Apple Podcasts and subscribe for weekly updates. Secondly, we do that creed that we just recited, mainly because I'm a movie geek, Hulk's a movie geek, and sometimes we take movies a little too serious. So by saying that creed, it allows us to keep the conversation fun and not allow our personal emotions to get into it. And this week, I actually crossed my fingers because, as you know, Hope, Coming to America and Ghostbusters are my two favorite movies of all time.
Yes, sir.
My heart was already broken with Ghostbusters. However, if they try to touch Coming to America, someone might get hurt because I'm just not really sure what I'll do. So we actually were joking about this on last week's podcast. I had to cut out a lot of the audio for that because we went over time. However, Hulk was telling me that I think you were saying that a movie that should be remade is Coming to America. At the time, I didn't know that they were even really considering it because I knew there were rumors and stuff.
Yeah.
But this week it kind of confirmed it since they've announced a new team around it. So I know you're happy. Obviously, I'm upset. So it's official now. I think they're moving forward with this thing. Tell us your thoughts.
Yeah. Like I was surprised because I heard about the rumors like a while back, but it got shut down kind of quick because I didn't even realize there was a deleted tweet back in March.
Yep, by Eddie himself.
Yeah, I didn't even realize that.
And Eddie don't know how to use Twitter. So that's when he had just got back on, just got on Twitter and he came out of hiding. But nah, I'm upset, man. But we'll talk about this more. So there's names attached. You saw the reports, right?
Yeah.
All right, so there's names attached. Basically, I know the creator of Blackish, whose name escapes me at the moment. He's been invited to rewrite a current draft of the script that they already have. So, do you know any of these other people attached to it?
Yeah, I think his name is Kenya Barris. I'm
saying other people other than him.
Jonathan Levine, he directed Warm Bodies, 50-50. He hasn't really had that much work, but those are the two prominent movies that he's made.
Because you said that with confidence.
What?
And I don't know if he's equipped to handle a comedy. I mean, one movie's about cancer, another one's, barely anyone saw, which is a Walking Dead type movie. So it just looks like a disaster. But I'll give them a benefit of the doubt. First, with the names attached. You mentioned the creator of Blackish and also the writer for Warm Bodies and 50-50. How do you feel about that?
I think it's okay. I think for a script like this, looking at their work, I could see why they chose them because Kenya's kind of getting hot right now because he also did Girls Trip, which was very, it was underrated. You know what I'm saying? As far as it's...
You saw it?
I didn't see it. But
I heard it's the best comedy of the year so far.
Yeah, so it's okay, you have somebody who's kind of hot right now, and then you have someone who's been behind the camera. You know what I'm saying? You don't really need. This is not like a movie where you're gonna deal with a lot of technical stuff. You just need somebody who with some experience, with some success, and Jonathan does have that. So you take a hot.
Don't say. The last director of this was John Landis, and he directed Thriller and some of the best comedies of all time with American Werewolf in London. At the time, he was considered like a giant when it came to comedy movies.
That's true. I'm not knocking that aspect, but I'm saying with a film like this, I think, okay, you already have an established world. You know what I'm saying? You already have, it's main star coming back. So
that's another person that's attached that we didn't bring up. Eddie's attached. So I'm a big Eddie Murphy fan. I just think that he just isn't motivated. I just think Eddie at one point was one of the highest paid actors in Hollywood. I don't think he agreed with most of the work he was doing, but it was a paycheck. Even people close to him say that Eddie's kind of playing a joke on the audience where it's a cash grab for him, but he's still funny. It just, he doesn't really apply himself because of the scripts coming out of Hollywood. But I think given the right direction, he still has the chops that he had in the 80s.
Yeah. You seen that with it wasn't really a comedy, but I don't know why it's exciting with Dreamgirls.
Yeah.
It's like it's like he just naturally just had talent. Like it just seeped, because even before Dreamgirls, it was just like a bunch of bombs at the box office, and even after Dreamgirls, a bunch of bombs at the box office. But in that one time period where the setting was right, the movie was right, everything was right, like he was able to put out a great performance. So it's just like you said, like the talent is there. It's just, does he have the right motivation? Is this script, is this idea, is this pitch going to be enough to bring out, a great performance out of him? Like, we'll see. Well,
we'll see, but I could kind of see it now that it's not. But let's talk about when was Coming to America made? 1984, 1985, what? 1988?
It's like, I think it was 88. I think it's been like 30, like just about 29, 30 plus years.
Now, I just know they celebrated their 25 year anniversary like only a couple years ago. So I'm looking now, it was 88. So
okay, so 29.
Yeah, so you looking at 1988, years after the fact, right? Why now?
I think this is what Hollywood does. Like, I think there's nothing is safe. There's no real time limit. There's nothing that can hold it back anymore. Like, this is like, they go by whatever rules, whatever they feel like that can catch fire, or whatever they feel that they can get a cash grab out of. Like, even though I agree with the idea, like I really thought, it should be made, but at the same time, like, coming from your perspective, I don't think time has an effect on whatever they have. They probably had this in the back burner for 10 years. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like but I guess after a while, maybe, Paramount's not happy with their performances. So they're in the room, they're thinking, okay, let's blow the dust off of the Coming to America.
A lot of dust.
So,
even from a managerial perspective, when Eddie's not in the limelight currently, right? Mm-hmm. And Arsenio Hall isn't a hot topic. His show just got canceled a couple years ago.
Yep.
This actually has the makings of a perfect disaster. So I just don't understand the logic here. The first one was funny because people were less sensitive in the in the 80s. And what's going on with the black community now, just like any other community, there's certain things you put in movie today where we're just a sensitive society. If there's anything that remotely resembles something that could offend a population, your movie's going to experience some type of backlash. And the first one I think is hilarious, but if that movie came out today, there would be a lot of parts that were offensive to certain groups, like the subtle stuff, like the accent that Eddie and Simi makes, which is Akeem and Simi. That would be offensive to Africans, even though Zamunda isn't a real place. The woman cleaning penis for a living, that's offensive to women. Although I think this stuff is funny because it's the 80s, I just know, like, you put that stuff in a movie today, a lot of people are going to argue about it. You just can't have that same formula be successful today. And the fact that they're making it a sequel and not a reboot, you got to imagine some parts of that universe are still going to remain constant for part 2. So,
yeah,
I mean, that's just me. I think it's a horrible idea. But next section, let's talk about, let's pitch a successful sequel, because I do believe that there's always a perfect formula that can make anything a success. So I'm going to put my feelings aside right now and really give Paramount a great idea for Coming to America. And asterisk on the word great, just because I don't think it could be done. I don't think you could top the original. But all right, so now it's the year 2018. Obviously, America's different. We have social media to where you can't really be tricking people that you're not a king, right?
Yeah.
So how can, pitch a successful sequel to Paramount Studios, and how could they actually make this work?
I was thinking it'll be maybe the flip side. It could be Like he has a son, and then
Go ahead.
he has a son, and then like instead of finding like an American wife, he has to go back to Zamunda to find an African wife to keep up with the heritage and all that stuff. But he's been so like he was raised here, like he was like this is where he did his schooling. So he's been so like ingrained with our culture, with social media and all that stuff, that going back to Zamunda like really turns him off as far as the setting, the pace and all that stuff. But he ends up falling in love, and then, through his dad, who's now king, like he's able to learn, the importance of, dealing with, culture barriers and all that stuff. And he's able to find like, a wife who's, more down to earth and all that stuff, and not too like part of the commercialism of America, like something like that. That's what I was thinking.
That sounds a lot like the TV pilot they tried to do in the 1980s. Actually, I saw this thing on like Daily Motion years ago. I never even knew it existed. But did you know that there was a pilot shot for a series? It was produced by Eddie.
Wow, I didn't know that.
It was with Tommy Davidson. Tommy Davidson was Akeem's little brother, who wasn't present in the movie, but apparently he had a little brother. And he came to America to, not to sow his royal oats, but to like gain responsibility. He's just like Akeem. He was in the kingdom all his life, and he came to America and he got a part-time job while he was a foreign exchange student. I watched the whole pilot. It was bad. And it sounds really close to what you were actually presenting. It just won't work. So, I mean, for me, I really don't think they should make a movie, but if I have to be fair to this portion where we're pitching a successful sequel, I have two ideas. The second one I like more than the first, but I'll read the first one. You ready?
Yeah.
Once again, I don't want to see Lisa and Akeem break up, because I think they're one of the staples of romantic comedies, like just a nice couple. And I would hate to see this, but I think that the writers should actually pursue a divorce between them. And the thing is, just like other foreign countries, divorce is outlawed, but it's welcomed in America. So they actually travel back to America for a divorce. Throughout the process, obviously, they end up rekindling their romance by visiting old stops, and it just starts to spark some memories. And they'll actually, patch it up at the end. But that gives us it'll basically use them as an avatar in order to visit old stomping grounds. Like you'll get to see McDowell's, and McDowell's probably stopped copying off of McDonald's because, they're not as big as they once were, but they're copying off of another restaurant now or something. I don't know. But still, that's one avenue they could go. The second one, which I wrote this down to be a joke, but actually, if they did this, I wouldn't be mad. So, like power couples in Hollywood, even though they broke up, the once famous power couple was Angelina Jolie and Brad Pitt. When you think of Angelina Jolie and Brad Pitt's family, what do you think of?
Like her family. Like, what do you mean? Like her,
like their children, like a family portrait. What does it look like with them?
Oh, just a bunch of different
kids from around the world.
Yeah, kids from around the world. Yeah.
So the one thing that Hollywood couples do a lot, like power couples, they adopt children from other countries, like third world countries most of the time. I would like them to flip this script around and have Akeem and Lisa go to America to adopt a child, because they're actually making America look like they're less fortunate because of our morals here and stuff. Yeah. So it's kind of like a joke to the audience to say, oh, wow, they're coming to our country to adopt children. So it must really be bad in America. But I think if you do that backward spin, it could be funny. And especially if you could have one thing that I don't want to see, I don't want a sequel to be a romantic comedy. We've seen that before. But there's other comedy types that work. Like Big Daddy with Adam Sandler, where it's man with child. I would like to see that dynamic, like Akeem learning how to be a parent, just like he learned how to be, a middle class worker, or a middle class Americans, so to speak. So that second option, if they did that, I think it's a fresh take, and you don't have to rehash a lot of the jokes that you did from Coming to America.
Okay. I
All
kind
right,
of
but
like.
yeah, honestly, I think they should leave it alone. I think that those two pitches actually work better as skits on like a variety show. But hey, I'm not the boss here. So now Coming to America has been that one movie on my list. And it used to be Ghostbusters too that I'm like, they're never touching that. It's just too much of a classic. Mainly Coming to America because I understood Ghostbuster always ran the risk of being either rebooted or adding a sequel because it already did part two 5 years after the fact, right?
Yeah.
Coming to America never did a sequel to where it was just like a one hit wonder. It was just like, okay, a one off, perfect. Hollywood understood to leave it alone. And that movie is also iconic because a majority all black cast. You don't see black movies that successful. And you know, they are bringing people that have been successful in bringing black content to America. Like Blackish is doing well ratings wise. And also Girls Trip, it shattered the box office and I don't think anybody thought it would. Nope. So let's talk about movies that, so I think with the movie just being such a poster child for just that legacy piece, I thought they should have left it alone, but I understand that I'm there. It's like it holds sentimental value to me. So I have to get out the way. If the movie's good, I'll be the first one to applaud. I just don't think that'll happen. So now let's talk about movies that Hollywood should definitely leave alone, whether it be sequels or reboots.
All right. Like one of the first things that come to mind is like Godfather. Like I think with a lot of movies, like you can always retell a story. You can always retell any story, but you could never get back like the performances. And I think with a movie with such Oscar pedigree, it's like even if you put together a great cast, like sometimes you could see like with a great cast, like with those Mother's Day, Valentine's Day movies, like they have a great cast, but the performances suck. So it's like with a Godfather, with a movie that has great cinematography, you know, great supporting roles, great, you know, main roles, like you can never duplicate a movie like that. And I feel like you can never like remake specifically The Godfather. Also, movies that came to mind was Quentin Tarantino. Like it's not so much with the performances sometimes, but it's so much with the style of the director. Like you can't get another director to recreate Pulp Fiction or Reservoir Dogs or Inglourious Bastards. Like that to me can never happen.
Give it some time. You already know Quentin's my number one, right?
Oh, I didn't know that. I knew he was higher on your list. I know he was your number one.
Nah, that's my number one, man. He's my number one, and then Edgar Wright is my number two. And both of those dudes are homeboys, and you see their influences a lot in each other's works. But first off, Godfather, I hope they remake it only because it'll piss you off just as much as I'm pissed off now. But as per Quentin Tarantino, I don't ever think they're going to remake a Quentin Tarantino movie. If they do, I'll be long gone because it'll be someone that's younger than me that grew up on his movies that want to pay homage to him in the future. So who knows? But one thing I think they'll do, because you're seeing a resurgence of TV, I think they'll take an aspect from his world and they'll expand it and give it a TV show, which I think is a bad idea.
Yeah.
But I think they'll do that. And if they do that, I don't care because it's like TV and movies don't match. You could ignore one. I
think you're right because I could have sworn I heard like a Pulp Fiction thing, like where it's just like, oh, there's this pilot. It's kind of like I hear it all the time. You know what I'm saying? Like they just haven't done it yet, but I hear it all the time where it's just like it's based on the world of Pulp Fiction or like they were supposed to do a movie with I think Ving Rhames' character, like where they were supposed to like have his story told, but it would have been like a different director or something like that. But you always hear that.
I think they'll do like a TV show of that, but I still don't like. They'll give Jules and Vincent their own show, but cast different people or the Gimp. Every episode, who does he have in the basement this season? Oh man, he's got another guy. He's got another guy in the basement. Something dumb. But I know it's a bad idea, but that's just the type of stuff that they do. So. Yeah, I hope they leave Quentin alone. Like I said, my favorite director. And his stuff is just so weird because a lot of his stuff focuses on sharp writing. And I don't think you could... I don't think you could just hire a staff to be Quentin Tarantino.
Yeah,
So
exactly. Like, just try to imagine like recreating the milk scene in Glorious Bastards. You know what I'm saying? Like with him in the house, like him with all the, you know what I'm saying? Everybody under the floorboards, or trying to recreate Kill Bill, or just the whole story of Reservoir Dogs, like. Because it's not just his style, but it's also the writing as well. Like you mentioned, like you can't have a twist like that. Like,
and you can't. He takes his time with his writing too, and you don't really necessarily have that time in an hour program. So, well, let me not say not because a lot of Game of Thrones, Sopranos, Breaking Bad, great writing, and they were slow to develop that world. So, let me go and then we'll go back and forth.
yeah,
Back to the Future, stop it.
yeah,
It's just a matter of time.
yeah.
It's just a matter of time. It's coming. And I know this is going to happen. I'm telling Hollywood, stop it. Listen to me. Dear Hollywood, this will not work. Time travel is played out now. By the way, even though you may not notice this, technically, we've already had a Back to the Future remake. Because the time travel and the way that Back to the Future did it, it's been rehashed so many times that you could point to Terminator, you could point to X-Men Days of Future Past, Minority Report, all of that stuff. Like without a Back to the Future, those movies don't exist. But what was so fresh at the time, it's like played out now. Like whenever somebody does a movie about time travel, the only time that I've seen a creative take on time travel is The Arrival. I thought they did something different with, time travel actually being a language that people speak. Second, Interstellar. They did it a different way as well. Like I never really thought of time like that. I like it. But other than that, Back to the Future, if they do it now, you can't recapture that. You can't recapture that lightning in a bottle. So just stop it.
Yeah, I agree. For me, the one I have is Shawshank Redemption. Like that's another one where it's like, okay, you could retell that story, but the twist won't have the same effect. Also, the performance, like with Morgan Freeman, like there's no other person that you could get that could narrate a movie like that. Like his voice is so unique, so distinct. So it's just like, just imagine like getting a new character, like it just won't work, or a new actor. I mean, like it just won't work for that specific film, and for the style of the story is just how it's paced, and like I said, the twist at the end, like it works. So I just don't think you could ever remake, a classic movie like Shawshank.
I don't think you could do it either. Like you said, that voice, the only person's voice that rivals, Morgan Freeman is Michael Caine. And I would hate Michael Caine, like for them to do that and put him in that role. You know what I mean? So I think they should leave that movie alone too. Classic, but it's just a matter of time, man. All of these movies are going to get remade at some point or another. For me, since we're on the topic of, Coming to America, one of the best romantic comedies of all time. My second favorite romantic comedy is When Harry Met Sally. I think it's genius comedy. Almost nothing happens in the movie for the first hour, and it's just dialogue. And I just thought that they were hilarious. I could see a Hollywood exec trying to make this happen, but push like a social media agenda, which is technically You've Got Mel. That's basically You've Got Mel is When Harry Met Sally, but when we first started seeing like AOL, that was like the beginning of some form of social media. But whatever. I think they should leave this alone. But trust me, it's going to be some young director like, we should do When Harry Met Sally. But they were Facebook friends. And, then Harry just deleted, her friend request. And then, blah. I'm like, this isn't going to work. It never works when you try to push social media like that. But that's another one that I think they should leave alone.
Yeah, I agree. But like you said, it's gonna happen. They're gonna try to redo it, rehash it some way,
and sweep it under the rug when it only makes like less than $1 million at the box office that month. I like when they do that. Like they just act like they never tried to touch a classic, because Ghostbusters got swept under the rug quick. Like I'm just like, oh, it never happened. Great. What you got next?
I got Ferris Bueller Day Off, which I know they're going to try to do, because they've been trying to do it with TV shows, with pilots. It's like every year they always have like some treatment where it's just like, oh, this is like Ferris Bueller Day Off. Like, oh, it's like the same vein, or like they try to create stories around that. But I think it was just so unique and so like as a kid for me it was just always so inspiring because it's like yo like I want to do that one day like just complete.
The funny thing is,
yeah, go ahead.
I almost put that on my list, but I took it off because I don't think they're gonna actually remake that. I don't think they're gonna touch it.
I think they
one
are,
person
bro.
One person that's actually been immune to reboots or remakes is John Hughes movies.
Which is weird.
Breakfast Club.
Which I'm surprised.
Huh?
It's shocking. Like you're right. Like that's it's surprised that they haven't really touched any of them yet. But I feel like
Breakfast Club, Ferris Bueller, 16 Candles, Pretty in Pink, Weird Science, Home Alone. Home Alone had those. They have those made for TV movies nobody wants to talk about.
Yeah.
But he was involved in part 3, so I'm just like, all right, take out Home Alone. But that's more like the property just keeps switching hands. A lot of his movies, they did an Uncle Buck TV show and they tried to make it for black people.
Yeah.
I'm just like, it's not gonna work. But other than that, I really think he's safe.
I don't. Like I really think they're just waiting. Like I really think I don't know. I because now that you mentioned Breakfast Club, like I'm like, yeah, in my head I'm like they're gonna remake that. Like, you know what I'm saying?
And the funny thing is, if you Google Breakfast Club, the movie doesn't show up anymore. Everybody thinks about Charlemagne, DJ Envy, and Angela Yee. I Googled Breakfast Club, and the first thing that shows up is the YouTube channel. I'm like, wow, I'm surprised they didn't get that trademarked, but that's them. For me, I'm going to disagree with that one, but Eddie Murphy movies, some of them you got to leave alone. And for sequels and reboots, they've been trying to do this Beverly Hills Cop 4 thing. I think they should leave it alone. If they do it, it'll only be on the eves of Coming to America being successful. But Beverly Hills Cop, I think you should leave it alone. I think part 3 wasn't good. And after that, that basically should have wrapped up the universe. Yeah,
I agree. But like, I don't know. It's just, is there any latest rumors with that? Because I remember it was supposed to start filming like.
The thing, I think the person behind it was Jerry Bruckheimer or something. I think so. And he basically, when he left Disney, and he basically started trying to do all of his other, films. That's why he was like, all right, let me go back to the well. Pirates of the Caribbean, let's make a sequel. Top Gun, let's do something. What else? Beverly Hills Cop, let's get something done. So I think, and Bad Boys, the only reason why I know they're going to do Beverly Hills Cop is because when you look at Jerry Bruckheimer, he's been pursuing all of his former glory. So it's like, as soon as he got, left Disney, he went and did all of these, for like successful properties that he had in the past. And none of them have turned out well so far. But apparently they tried to do a part 4, then it wasn't working. So they tried to make it a TV show, and then that wasn't working. So they was like, no, we just got to do a movie. So they don't, I think it was supposed to be, he was passing the rings down to his son, which that's not how law enforcement works, by the way. So I'm just like, this doesn't make any sense, but I don't know what they're going to do. I just think they should leave it alone because obviously when the news was around it, nobody was even talking about it. So Beverly Hills Cop is one of those things. The best part of the movie is Eddie Murphy. It's a young Eddie Murphy. It's funny. And technically the world already has their version of Beverly Hills Cop with the Ice Cube and Kevin Hart thing. Even though I don't like it, that's like Beverly Hills for the new generation. It's like fish out of water type cop trying to learn, the rules of the trade. So I got one more after that, but I definitely think they should leave that alone. It sounds like you agree with me. You got anything else on your list?
Fight Club. Like I don't think you could redo that kind of movie. Once
I think we're years away from that too, so you should feel safe.
Yeah, because I think like once again it's two things. It's always with like the director and like the style and performance of the movie. So like I feel like yeah, go ahead.
Oh no, never mind. You're not years away. They're gonna do something. Let me give a prediction. So you heard about what is it called? It's not Ocean's 11, Ocean's 12, Ocean's 13. What is the new one called? Like Ocean's 8 or something?
Yeah, Ocean's 8.
Yeah, so with Ocean's 8, if Ocean 8 is successful, it's going to be the worst thing we've ever seen in Hollywood. Like it's going to be a disaster of biblical proportions. Like what's going to happen is every successful franchise, they're going to womanize it. You know, like for lack of, I don't know how to term it. I don't know if that's an insensitive word or something, but I just made up that word. It's not a word, so nobody could feel upset about that. But they're just gonna take, like, there's gonna be Die Hard, the female version. There's going to be Fight Club, the female version. There's going to be Avengers, the female version. There's going to be The Dark Knight, but with Batgirl. It's going, like, every successful property you could think of, like Come With Me If You Want to Live, Terminator, the female version. It's going. They're going to do that with everything.
Yeah, because they're itching. Yeah, like they're itching to do that because you see all the time, like, oh, the next James Bond should be Jane Bond, or
it's coming. It's coming.
Tony Stark, when he retires, no, they need to get. I think her name is Riri in the comics. Like, it needs to be her. She needs to take over, or like you hear it all the time. Like I see exactly what you're saying. Like, if it is successful, they will do that. They will, like, you will see a lot more. Which, don't get me wrong, like I love females. Like, I like seeing them on the screen.
Exactly. I'm looking forward. Like, hey, I almost said Hateful Eight. Ocean's 8 is circled on my list. I think that's like the best collection of heist movies ever.
Yeah.
But when I know how Hollywood thinks. They take the worst part of the, like, recipe and they apply it to everything. Like, I love cake. You know, I eat cake all the time. Like, I have 4 kids and it's 6 individuals living in my house. So for, 6 times, 6 months out the year, we're eating cake. Mm-hmm. I love it. So the thing is, my favorite part of cake is, like, I don't know, like the frosting. What Hollywood does is they say frosting's good. People like frosting. Let's apply it to everything. Let's put it on hamburgers because people like frosting. Oh, let's put it in juice. People love frosting. Let's put it in salad. That's not how it works. They're after, like, Ocean's 8 comes out and they say, well, people love women and people love women taking over male roles. Man, let's do Rocky, the female version. Yeah. Let's do Any Given Sunday, the female version. That's how ridiculous they get sometimes. And I just really think that if you're going to do a Fight Club, I don't want to see it remade. But if you remake it, don't really focus on gender to make it successful. Focus on what made it so popular the first time. It was that twist. And you can't. Yeah. I personally think you got to leave movies with twist alone. That's why I don't think they'll ever remake Sixth Sense. It's because people already, we'll see it coming. He's dead, so, or they'll probably make like a Walking Dead version of it. And, like he didn't realize he was alive all this time. Mm-hmm. They'll do something dumb like that. Last thing I have on my list, which they're going to do, especially with the resurgence of Michael Keaton, I think they should leave Beetlejuice alone. Honestly, with Michael Keaton, I think he's starting to, he reminds me of it's like a Morgan Freeman in reverse, because Morgan Freeman didn't become popular till he was like 50.
Yeah. And
Michael Keaton, his popular days were actually behind him because he was Batman. But people are starting to realize his acting chops now with Birdman, and with The Founder. I'm like, whoa, this guy's actually, like, he has an Oscar on the way. It's unfortunate he didn't get one already, but he didn't deserve the one that he was nominated for. And I'm like, you know what? He should stay away from Beetlejuice. It's like, why would you do that? It's not going to work. But I know they're still pursuing it, and they're trying to get the band back together. So whatever. But that's what I really think they should leave alone.
Yeah, I agree. But like you said, it's going to happen. Like,
it is.
There's too much money on the table.
Ain't no money. That movie not making no money. Don't say that.
I think it is. I think
how is that movie gonna make money?
With the visuals alone? Like, if
No. Visuals don't mean nothing, because if that's the case, Jupiter Ascending would have, made buku money at the box office.
No, it's just
that movie is really 80s. It's like that stuff isn't gonna work today. It's just all they're doing is Ghostbusters again. We're not interested in those 80s concepts right now. Just stop it.
I agree with you. I just think, like, I'm just going by their mindset. Like, of what they're looking at, they're thinking, okay, that was in the 80s, but now we have the technology. We could do more with this character. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm just going by.
Who's going to direct?
I don't know.
Because if they're trying to stay in that Tim Burton wheelhouse, graphics isn't something that, or CGI isn't something that he relied on. I don't think he'll do the movie, but I do think that they're going to try to keep the artwork similar. And, it's actually, he has that quirky kind of, CGI where not CGI, but you know, like it just looked claymation stuff like that. It looks ugly, and I think they're gonna stick with that wheelhouse. Like it's like, hey, they're supposed to look cheesy. It's supposed like our graphics are supposed to look cheesy. So you keep talking about upgrades. I don't really think they're gonna really upgrade the special effects department like you think they are.
I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Nah, but that's just my childhood speaking. Just leave it alone. But anxious to hear what you guys think. How do you feel about the Coming to America sequel? Maybe it's just me. I think they should leave it alone. Also anxious to find out what movies should Hollywood just leave alone? Like share it in the comment section and just let us know via social media. Anxious to hear what you guys think. All in all, guys, it's about that time. I want to thank you guys for joining us today. Before you leave, if you like what you heard, share it with a friend on Apple Podcasts or wherever you go for your podcast. Don't let this be the last time we hear from you or you hear from us. Support the show by giving us a rating and a review on Apple Podcasts, guys. It would really mean a lot. Also, join us next week. Check out the show notes on where to find us weekly. It's Couch Tomato Films on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram, and Couch Tomato Film on Twitter. Other than that, peace.